Alright folks, welcome back to another Awaken Chaos Era video, and apologies for no uploads over the last week or so because I was away on holiday with the family, away in Portugal, sunny Portugal, 7 degrees every day, it was beautiful. So I took a little break, didn't play any games, didn't have any screen time or anything, which is probably good for everyone to do once in a little while. But happy to be back, and I've come back and there's a massive update just been announced, so it's pretty exciting stuff, and I didn't want to cover the whole patch notes today because there's loads of other people doing that, and I'm sure you can just check that out. But I did look through the hero reworks, and there's some pretty insane hero reworks in this one, so I just wanted to go through what I believe are the top 3 hero reworks out of this patch. And if you haven't built these guys up, it might be worth just building them right now because they're guaranteed going to be great by the look of these new abilities these guys have got. So without further ado, let's just jump in. So the first bad boy here is Hassel. Now, Hassel is a guy that I have never ever used. I think I took one look at his kit donkeys ago and thought, no, that's not for me. So he's basically looks like a health hero, I guess, health and defensive kind of hero. His trait, this is like the old trait. I'm going to go through the new abilities in a second, but just now he grants a shield with strength equal to 30% of max health. Upon taking a critical strike, can be triggered once every 3 rounds, and it goes up to 50%. I mean, that's really kind of situational-ish. I mean, I guess he's going to take critical strikes off nukers and stuff, I suppose, but once every 3 rounds as well doesn't seem amazing. But I mean, it's not the worst trait in the world, but it didn't lead me to want to build him. Then the basic here launches 2 strikes, dealing 100% total damage to an enemy. So that's just 100% total, so 50 on each one. That's not, when I first read it, I thought, oh wow, that's 200% damage on the basic. 50% chance of placing Ignite. So Ignite is probably the worst debuff in the game, and it's only a 50% chance to do it, so pretty terrible basic, unfortunately. Special heals all team members for 20% of max health and applies crit resistance up to the target for 2 turns. So that's 30% crit resistance. It's a strange buff, that one, because yeah, I guess that's just negating 30% of the opponent's crit rate, but it's a strange one. It doesn't really seem worth it, that one. There's better heals out there. And then the ultimate wasn't too bad. It deals 120% damage to an enemy, crit rate down, damage scales with the amount of this character's health, so the max health. So you could build him super tanky and hopefully deal a bunch of damage with this and put some crit rate down. It's not incredible, but yeah, all in all, he was one of the more poor heroes in the game. So they have buffed him big time. So let's just have a little look at the buffs he's been given here. So it's a complete rework, and his trait now reads trait backfire. At the moment, is it called the same thing? It's still called backfire, yeah. But instead of doing the shield thing right now, we're going to be looking at the start of the turn, grants speed up 2 when ascended, for 1 turn to the teammate with the highest attack, which is pretty huge for a lot of content in this game. So you don't have to worry about putting speed on any of your nukers again. You know, you can just build maximum crit rate, crit damage, everything. Don't worry about any speed, and then play this guy, and your character's going to get speed up 2 if he's ascended, and he's easy enough to ascend because he's an epic. So that is really strong trait, actually, very strong. I think that's going to be useful everywhere in the game. Not only, well, it's definitely going to be useful in Arena, but loads of other content too, especially if you're struggling to get, because I know a lot of people come to me and they'll say, like, the stage 14 dungeons, it's difficult to get the crit damage up to like 300%, crit rate 100%, and still achieve over like 145 speed, the Natalias and stuff. So this makes it much easier to do. The S1 now at the moment is still called Bash. Launches 2 strikes, blah blah blah. We've read that one. It now deals 110% damage to 1 enemy and heals Hassel and a teammate with the lowest HP. Healing scales with his max HP. So again, it's worth having lots of HP on him, and this is pretty strong because it just heals him and your nuker. So your nuker's getting speed up 2. Chances are your nuker's going to have the lowest HP anyway, and he's going to heal both of them together. So that's a nice change there. And then the special again was just heal random thing. Special's completely different now. So grants attack up and crit rate to self or a teammate for 2 turns. It's attack up 1, not attack up 2. That's worth knowing, and grants a bonus turn for the target. So this is basically Yolanda's, but I believe Yolanda's is attack up 2. I can't quite remember. But you get the crit rate up, which is pretty awesome. In fact, let's just quickly go Yeah, I always forget. So Yolanda's is here, grants a bonus turn and immune and attack up 2. So yeah, the attack up 2 is really nice. But I'm not totally sure that this is like any worse really, because crit rate up is really strong. Because you know you can build, say like you've got your Urzag, just building with I believe it'll be set. I'd imagine it's 70% crit rate you'll need, because it'll probably be 30% crit rate up. I would assume, I guess. And grants a bonus turn for the target. Yeah, this is really strong. So if you don't have Yolanda, this is a solid alternative. If not, I mean, it might even all round deal more damage actually. It doesn't have the immune, but having the crit rate and the attack up, even though it's not attack up 2, is, yeah, it's pretty damn strong actually. So I think this guy might be nuts for places like Arena now. And then on to the A3, the S3, sorry. This was pretty lackluster before. It now deals 120% damage to all enemies, places defense down for 2 turns, and removes all positive effects from the main target. So yeah, that's nuts, because this game really lacks like AoE defense down. Now I know you get it with the spells in this game, which makes it pretty easy to do, but this kind of frees up your spell slots, so I kind of want to experiment with different spell slots more often, but I always find myself coming back to putting defense down because nobody did it well. But now we have a guy that's able to do it, AoE, defense down, and also remove all positive effects from the main target. Is pretty crazy. Definitely one of the best reworks that I've seen ever in this game, so especially how bad he was before. Right, moving on to Jonathan next. This is a hero that actually I thought was pretty good beforehand, but he's had a massive buff. He's crazy. So let's have a look through his stats to begin with. He's got 80-year attack and 80-year crit rate. He's got this trait here, +1 rage per attack or upon taking a valid hit. Regenerates 10% of max health at the start of the turn if damaged the previous turn, and it goes up to 15% on the Ascension. And the basic here deals 100% damage, 30% chance to place a silence. Grants a bonus turn at the end of the round, as well as attack up and damage reduction for 2 turns, so you can do some cool stuff with this. And then the ultimate here removes negative effects and expends all rage, deals 100% damage to all enemies. The amount of damage dealt in this attack scales with the amount of health lost by targets and rage expended. So I've seen this hit pretty hard before. So I don't think he was terrible. I've seen him, like I say, deal some crazy damage. He's a pain in the ass to fight against in PvE. He seems to always like one-shot your team. But he has had a rework of all reworks. So let's check his rework out here. So we're looking at the trait was this rage thing. So it's now still called the same thing, obviously. When the enemy casts an ability over an area, grants a shield to all teammates and self equal to 10%, 20% ascended of max HP for 2 turns. So suddenly this guy wants max HP now, which is pretty interesting. Wonder if it'll actually change his stats at all, I'm not sure. So that's super strong. An ability over an area, you know, that's strong everywhere. If you face Arena, it's always going to be area abilities. Well, not always, but mostly. Ashe, Queen, there's so many area things, and he's just going to be pumping shields on. That is really, really strong, actually. And it doesn't actually say can't be used more than, you know, can only be triggered once or twice every turn. I don't think it says. No, it just seems like it's just going to hit. So it seems really, really good, especially when it's ascended at 20%. So that's the one thing that drew me to this guy right away. But then it just gets even better, I think. So we've got the Silence basic here. This one deals 100% damage and applies unhealable for 2 turns. Damage increases with this character's max HP. So it's super interesting that he wants max HP now as well. So he was already hitting pretty hard, but I mean, he wanted his max HP on his ultimate, sorry, but he didn't have it on his other abilities. But they have listened to the community and they've put it on all his abilities, which is really cool. So he's going to deal crazy damage and, well, maybe not crazy, but a good amount of damage. But the silence, 30%. Instead, this now straight up just applies unhealable, which is one of the best buffs in the game. Debuffs, I should say. Especially for PvE, you can really screw over a lot of the bosses in this game for it. So super strong there. The Brilliance boost, again, this was just given the bonus turn in that. Now expels all negative effects and restores 30% of max HP. Grants a bonus turn at the end of the round. So, yeah, basically it's the same thing, but expels all negative effects and restores some HP. I'm reading it completely wrong. He loses the attack up and damage reduction, but he gets this sort of restoring HP and expels all effects. So yeah, it's a good one. But the last one here, check this out, deals 120% damage to all enemies and applies attack down and defense down for 2 turns. Damage increases with this character's max HP. So I'm hoping this guy smacks super hard, but even if he doesn't, he's the only character in the game that can actually put attack down and defense down on an AoE. So that alone makes him definitely build worthy. I think that's so strong for everywhere in the game, though. If you can get him to go in arena first and put that down, it really hinders the other team. They can't take much damage and they can't deal much. And Doom Tower, this is going to be so strong for Doom Tower, being able to just put attack down and defense down right off the bat. Yeah, it's really strong. I love this rework. I think they've done a great job with Jonathan. And the last one I'm going to go through, this guy didn't actually get a full rework. He just got a slight adjustment. But I was going to do a video on this guy soon anyway, which I will still do. But I think this guy was already like S tier. I kind of got him wrong when I first got him. I chose him as my very first legendary when you got to pick one at the start of the game, and everyone said, oh, he's rubbish, he's rubbish. But the more I've played with him, the more I realise he's actually insanely good. And the fact that he's had a buff is nuts, because he was already so good. So let's just have a look at his kit. Revive this character upon death. Everyone knows what this does. 50% health and resets the cooldown of all abilities, and it goes up to 80% when Ascension. Now, the Ascension is A5, which is a bit of a pain. I think I've got mine at A3 or 4 just now, so I'm pretty close to this. Because once he gets the Ascension at 80% health, especially with this new rework you're going to see, he's nuts for arena, like proper nuts. So the basic here, 100% deals 30% to apply a stun. You've got 120% damage to all enemies, plus 60% extra damage to the main target. This attack deals bonus damage to targets under a negative effect. This smacks unbelievably hard. See, in like a good Avarice set, this is probably one of the hardest hitting abilities on AoE in the game. And this, I'm pretty sure, is the hardest hitting ability in the game. The Vanquish deals 280% damage, refreshes this character's trait if an enemy's killed, which just means he's going to get revived again if he gets killed. So he is really, really strong. He's super strong. I kind of underestimated him to begin with, but let's see what they've done with him. So it's not a lot, but the trait add 1 stack of ability immune for 1 turn when resurrected. So this is one of the things that they really needed to do, because he just gets resurrected, then gets like debuffed again, then he can't do shit. Because he gets resurrected with 80% and the ability immune, they have to kill him right away, otherwise he's just going to start smacking and killing folk again. So all he needs to do is kill 1 person and he resets this. So given that ability immune just gives him a little bit more survivability. I like that. And the S1 ambush, which is the basic here, they've taken off the stun. Well, in fact, no, they've put it up to 120% damage first of all, so it actually deals more damage. So that's always a bonus. 20% more damage is good. Removes the stun, which is great because you don't want to build any focus on this guy at all. So I never understood why they put a stun, especially with like a 30% thing on him, because it's such a low chance and it's the only debuff on there. You're not going to want to put any focus on him. You're just going to be concentrating on crit rate, crit damage, and attack. And instead, reduce the cooldown of the ultimate ability by 1 turn. Now this is on a 5-turn cooldown, so this is insanely strong because you're going to be using this at least once or twice. So this brings us down to like a 3 to 4 turn cooldown now, which is crazy because it's probably the hardest hitting ability in the game. So I honestly think this guy is just shot up to like probably my favorite nuker in the game. I don't know if you can say he's the best, but he's in the run for the best nuker in the game in my opinion just now. I use him all over the place, especially because Mythasia's so prevalent in Arena. This guy, you know, use this ability on a good Avarice set on any Mythasia in the game and it just destroys them, especially if you can get a couple of things like defense down on them first. Yeah, so that is it, guys. I think those are the best 3, but if you have any suggestions, leave in the comments below if you think anything different. I know Vance got a rework. I didn't quite like his one. Andre got a pretty decent rework. I was tempted to put him in here, but I'll have to kind of playtest with Andre first to see if he's going to smack as hard as I think he can. Because he's kind of got like the Zaclox thing now. He can kind of snowball and kill loads of people at once. So we'll see how he comes out. But I can guarantee these 3 heroes are going to be like insane after this patch. So feel free to level them up safely because these guys are going to be monsters in the current meta. Maybe Balberith, he's my favorite technically, but he's probably the one I would build the least for most accounts because the other 2 are just going to be useful like everywhere in the game and they're much easier to build. So yeah, that's it guys, hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to the channel as always, and have a great day. Peace.